Foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes, facts, boots, and other stuff.
In this week's issue, something is killing the children.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the master of, I don't know, something scary that starts with M, Mr. Mike. The master of
the macabre.
Oh, I was going to say mutilation, but that makes you
Mutilation's
sound
fine too.
Sounds very gory.
Macabre.
Or do you feel like you're a very macabre type guy?
I am a macabre. You know, honestly,
you're a mystery wrapped in an enigma is what you are.
Every time I think about the word like macabre or anything like that, I think Vincent Price. You know, Vincent Price was absolutely one of my favorites, and because that dude sold out so hard to like just his persona.
Yeah.
You know? he was so great.
You know what I remember Vincent Price for, or what, like how I'm most familiar with Vincent Price?
Edward Scissorhands.
Or how I was introduced to him through Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, yeah, absolutely.
There was the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo that they played on Cartoon Network that was like Vince, and then there was one where I think like they were at a school for monsters, or maybe
for monsters,
where maybe Vincent Price played like the headmaster or something like that, or voiced the headmaster. That's why I was introduced.
I always loved Vincent Price. I thought he was great, and he was just so much more personable than like
Boris
Karloff or those guys of the same ilk.
Hold on, he was so much more like approachable, like
he just seemed like I don't know, he seemed like a guy that you could hang out with, even though he was fancy. Does that make sense? I'm not a big fan of the fanciness, you know? I mean, to a certain extent, I get it. Yeah, to a certain extent, I get it. I don't know. I mean, just be yourself. I'd rather be around people that are themselves. Uh-huh. Yeah, I like him. Yeah, very much so, but before John Waters. Like he predates John Waters, yeah. Well, plus, I think he was probably 20 years older than John Waters. I feel like he came out of the womb with that mustache. No, Vincent Price. He came out, and instead of crying, he went, no, or something like that, Where'd you get that tiny skull, baby, Vincent Price? Vincent Price? Yeah, he was just in a lot of scary movies, but he would also show up on a lot of variety shows. So, like, special guest star, Vincent Price, that kind of thing. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, on the Hollywood Squares, yeah. Circle gets the square.
So we are kicking off the month of October.
With this bullshit. That's okay.
We talked about it some, but we're going to focus on some more horror-themed comics. Next 2 weeks, things that are good, or people consider to be really good. But don't worry, I'm going to hunt down some kind of ridiculous stuff for us, hopefully, as well. I switched things around.
It's got to be a Vincent Price comic, right? There's got to be one.
I don't know if there's one specifically.
All right, you keep doing that. I'm going to do this.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of continue with our game. It's funny what we got coming up.
Sure.
So I switched things around a little bit, moving Swamp Thing a little bit later in the month, but we do have Saga the Swamp Thing that we're going to get into. I'm going to read the first, couple issues or so of Alan Moore's run on Saga the Swamp Thing, and we're going to kind of dive into it. I know a lot of people really like that run for Swamp Thing, but also kind of break down and just take a look at the characters from in general to explain it a bit more. So it'll be kind of like a Swamp Thing just overview some. And so what that did is that moved up Something's Killing the Children, and that is what we are going to do today. And we are going to focus mainly on, as I'm holding my copy up here, we're going to focus mainly on Volume 1, which is just the first 5 issues. That
Something is killing the children.
I can also put it up for everybody else to see their recognize of Something's Killing the Children.
I like that. Oh, it's beautiful.
James Tynion, Werther, Dell'Edera, which I might be saying that wrong, and I apologize. So same with Miquel, Muerto.
Muerto.
Fantastic read. It's something that I'll tell you I bought about a year or two ago. And it's
Oh, yeah?
sitting on my bookshelf because it's something that, like, when I hear people go on and on about, man, this is good. It came out in 2019 is when it started.
Mhm.
It's fairly recent. But when they're like, this is really good, and they keep reading it, and it's a series that, as far as I know, I think issue 37 came out in
Jeez.
July, June of this year, so it's still kind of ongoing. So what we're going to focus
So
on
they're
is
still killing the children.
they're still, well,
Gotcha.
something is.
Sure.
Not them, but something.
You wonder if it's still the same something.
I'm not sure. We're going to look at the first adventure of the story here.
By the way, it's just a small aside, okay? Just to wrap up the Vincent Price thing, okay? Number one, it says, what was the cause of the death of Vincent Price? And, usually when you click on those things, it gives you a long breakdown. This one, it says, what was the cause of the death of Vincent Price? Lung cancer. That's it. That's the entire explanation. But then it also says, was Vincent Price a nice guy? And it says, as handsome as Vincent Price was, he was a far better human being.
Ooh.
But
I hope people say that about me.
he also, apparently, Steve Ditko
Yeah.
based Doctor Strange on him.
Okay, I did.
That makes total sense.
That does make total
Yeah.
sense, especially when you think of like how early. Well, I mean, even now, Doctor Strange looks.
Yeah. And apparently, Vincent Price did a bunch of comics with Elvira,
Okay, that
which
makes
is kind of
sense.
cool. Yeah. And then he had a comic book series called Vincent Price Presents.
So maybe
So there
I'll
you go.
pick out and I'll find a Vincent
Yeah, if you
Price
can find
Presents.
one, that'd be great.
We might move that to a Wednesday
Yeah,
too.
I love Vincent Price.
When did they
He's the
come
best.
out? Did they come out before '86? Because I can kind of
I
rope
would-
that into.
I don't know.
It's not really the Silver
No
Age,
idea.
but I can rope it into a World's Finest Wednesday.
I don't know. I got bored with it.
Speaking of World's Finest Wednesday, before we dive into this issue, Mike, we have one that, oddly enough, there's, and I didn't put it together till right now, and this is going to sound awful. There's kind of a children's theme on this week's episodes.
Lovely.
Well, we're about to dive into Something Is Killing the Children here, Volume 1, which was a Will Eisner, an Eisner Award nominee in 2020 for Best New Series. But on World's Finest Wednesday this week, Batman and Superman are dealing with the Mother Goose mystery.
Oh, boy.
And so I'll just tease with that. So you got to tune in Wednesday to figure out what the Mother Goose. There is an actual live goose that does make an appearance.
I bet
on
the
this
old woman
story.
who lives in a shoe did it.
So I'm not going to say anymore.
Okay.
Got to wait till Wednesday.
All right.
So let's get into Something Is Killing the Children again with our October kind of horror theme.
Spooky.
Yeah, we're going to do things more spooky. Not going to be as full of a dive in as I do on a lot of these because I think this is a book that you should definitely go and pick up. I really liked it a lot. I enjoyed it to the point where I got done. I went out last night because it was a hectic weekend, and I was like, I got to read something for our show today. I can get 5 issues done.
Sure.
I sat down. I enjoy reading outside. I mean, when it's not too hot, nice little breeze going. And yesterday it wasn't too
Did
bad.
you say a nice Febreze?
Little breeze.
Oh.
With a little Febreze.
Well, I didn't know.
And I sat down and I read straight through these 5
Spraying the
issues. Like it
trees?
was really good. Spraying the trees.
Well, I'm just saying, you take the Febreze and you spraying the trees. It all rhymes.
Beneath the trees where nobody sees. Another
what I'm
great story that we did that you should go
Beneath
back and
the
read.
trees where nobody
I really
sees.
enjoyed
I'm
that.
spraying Febreze
And
up on your knees.
Okay. You got smelly knees.
By the way, now that I'm rhyming those
chapter
words
1.
together,
Yeah.
can I talk about something just real quick?
Sure.
You know 911, not the
don't know where this is
call,
going.
but the TV show.
Oh, that has like 17 of them, like Austin and San
So
Diego.
no,
Yeah.
they canceled the Texas one,
Oh, okay.
like the Lone Star. It was
Oh,
911
that's what
Lone Star.
But they were
That
in
was-
Austin. I
That
think.
was the one that had
Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe in it. So
Huge comic book fan, Rob Lowe.
they're doing
I
a
don't
new spin-off of some kind on these 911 things, and it's
Okay.
what's his face, Ryan Murphy, right? And I always have a chip on my shoulder about Ryan Murphy because I think he has too many characters, too many storylines. I think he tries to outdo himself every time, and it turns into just muddled garbage at some point.
Okay.
So, but the 911 thing, I've never watched it because it looks terrible. But I went onto my Roku the other day.
Yeah.
And, they always put a little ad next to the channels.
Yeah.
Well, this was for 911. Apparently, there's a big bee invasion coming to 911. It's all bees.
Yeah.
So you cancel the one about the state of Texas with Rob Lowe.
Because you had to make room for the bees.
And you replace it with nothing but bees. There's so many bees.
There is a villain. I know we covered Red Bee, who was great. Well,
Red Bee was great.
Peacemaker's Red Bee might be a little cooler, but where he kept Miquel the bee in his
Michael
belt.
the Bee's always working out.
He was. He could lift so much.
He's very
such
strong.
a strong little boy, Michael.
He's
I don't know if
a strong
you call him
little
little boy. He was a B-boy. I love how we both made the
First
same
time in the
joke.
Olympics, B-boys.
Oh, man. But you better watch out for that ray gun.
Mm-hmm.
That was such... we're not getting
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, thank you, because, we're going to just dive off here. We're introduced to a guy who is going to be one of our main kind of protagonists. Not the main one, but a guy that we'll get familiar with here, named James. James is the kid in glasses there. And James is over at a sleepover with some buddies of his, and they're playing a typical sleepover game of, like, truth or dare, right? Just typical things. And he asks, because the kids ask him, like, what is the scariest thing that you've ever seen? And
You said your mom.
and James goes to tell him, like, he saw this weird creature out at the ravine out there behind their house. Like, he was so scared when he saw it come out, and that, he just couldn't move. And he had to wait till his dad, got home from picking up his sister from soccer practice and stuff like that. And they were like, no, come on, man. Like, you're BSing us. And he's like, you know where that ravine is? Like, if you don't believe me, then let's just go ahead and go look for it.
Ravines are always trouble.
They are. And about that time, though, we switched in and we see James sitting in a white room talking to a detective. And he's like, I didn't see anything. My sister didn't even play soccer like my dad. Like, I made the story up. Like, they thought that they enjoyed my dreams that I would tell them that I would have sometimes, but I didn't know. I never saw anything out there. I don't know what happened to them. Like, so we switch already to see from the scenario that, essentially what we find out is everybody else at the sleepover except for poor James here is no longer with us because something is killing the children. It's like the post-credit, or not the post-credit, but the credit opening scene.
Yeah.
So,
like the cold open.
Yeah. So what we get here is James tells the story. None of the kids believe him. And he's like, fine, then let's go look at it. And, like, let's go out there and see. And we essentially find out that whatever happened out in the ravine, they haven't been able to find any of the kids anymore. James is the only one left. And he tells the police, like, that's all I know. Like, I don't know what happened to him. Like, I fell down. I couldn't see anything. By the time I came back up, like, I fell down in the ravine. By the time I crawled back up, like, out of falling, they were already, like, torn to shreds.
Likely story, James.
So we're introduced then to our next protagonist, which is Erica. Erica.
Hey, Erica.
Is the blonde there I forgot to make yours full screen, so I hope you can see it okay.
I can see it fine.
Is the blonde there with the dual blades. We'll find out. This is 2 weeks later after we see James meeting with the police.
Are these like katana blades, or are they because they could be either from the way I see it. They either that or machetes.
Yeah, they're kind of like machete blades.
Okay, all right.
We find that she has been out in the woods.
Either way, they're covered in blood.
Yeah, killing something with another child, like, there with her. While she's there and she just finishes, she takes a drink of water and her phone rings, and she gets the call that Archer's Point, Wisconsin, is where you need to head to next. Like, there's more trouble brewing there. So Archer's Point is where James is at, and we go back to see James at school. James
it gives me kind of a
fitting
Buffy
in.
the Vampire vibe,
A little bit.
Sending her on a mission kind of thing.
Kind of. James is picked up. Like, all the other kids think that James had something to do with this. He's the only one that's alive. Like, they think that he had a thing. That we find out that James had a crush on one of his friends there, but, like, nothing else ever came from there. But they're picking on him like, he didn't like you that way, so you went ahead and killed him. Like, they just think that James is since he's the lone survivor, like, he has to be the one who, is the reason why all these kids are gone.
I think that's reasonable thinking.
Yeah. So one of the bullies is yelling at James, and James kind of lashes out, and it leads to a meeting in the principal's office. And the principal's just telling him, like, you should have punched him instead, man. Like, not saying that I condone that, but, like, if anybody has it coming, it's, like, that student who picked on you. The principal tries to, like, keep it loose with him and, make some jokes. And he's like, are you doing okay? He's like, no, not really. And he's like, well, I'm not either. Like, the two kind of bond of just, like, the principal realizes how tough it has to be for James in dealing with all this.
Sure.
Of him not doing anything and still being picked on.
Yeah.
So he's like, all I'm going to do is tell your dad or call your dad because I got to call a parent and just tell him that you should have punched him instead. Like, I'm not going to, do you want to go home for the rest of the day? And he's like, no, they're going to watch movies in English. And he's like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do. Like, it's a nice little moment of, somebody trying to at least reach out to James.
Yeah.
So afterwards, I got to remind myself where we are while we do this. Oh, so Erica takes a bus to Archer's Peak. And when she gets there, she notices a billboard with all the wanted posters of all these missing people on there. And one of the cops or I guess security there at the bus stop is like, do you know any of them? And she just says, sort of. And she goes to leave then as she's now in the same town as everybody else. What we have here is essentially, I'll just tell the story as it goes through.
Yeah.
James on his way back to his dad and his sister and him are living in a hotel.
Okay.
Since all of this happened at their house, they don't have anywhere to stay. It's a crime scene, so they're living out of a hotel. His dad tells him he's going to be a little bit late. He's got to swing by the house, pick up more clothes for them and stuff. Call the cops to let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And so James is listening to this message and while he's walking to the hotel, and about that time, he gets done listening to the message, and he hangs up the phone, and Erica's there. And Erica essentially is like, hey, you're James, right? Like, you're the only one that's left of, the kids that were there. And he's like, yeah, like, I told the cops everything that I knew already. And she's like, well, you can tell me anything. Like, no matter how weird it is, no matter how out there it is, I promise you that whatever you tell me, I'll believe you.
She got some raccoon eyes.
She does. But she's a bit of a badass too.
Well, I didn't know if that's from lack of sleep or whether it's
maybe,
almost
or
part
if
of
it's
a costume kind of thing.
Well, a lot of times her hair falls over one eye.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a lot of makeup. I'm assuming it's a lot of makeup. She has just a real cool look about her. If it would have made sense for you to wear a bandana to cover your mouth, but we just want to be able to hear you to fit in for this episode. Anyway, and so James kind of breaks down and he's like, okay, he believes that she's going to, understand or listen to whatever he has to say. And that's where we see that it's this thing in the woods is just torn. He tells the story of I went and I saw this giant monster essentially just kill my friends. Right? So there it is. That's what he tells him. That's what I saw out in the wood. When I came out of the ravine, that thing was tearing him apart. Had ripped one in half, had torn the it's just eviscerating.
The thing is frightening looking.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's a very frightening looking thing. And she's like, okay, I got to zoom in a bit. I can't see from here. And so she's like, oh, her phone rings. I'm sorry. I forget where we are in the story. Anyway, essentially, James asked Erica, what are you doing here? Do you know about this? You don't seem fazed kind of in a way. And she's like, no, I'm somebody who fights things like this. And she goes, and I'm going to do just that. If you'll let me, I'm going to fight this monster and kind of get rid of it. And James asks, can I help? So James wants to go ahead and be a part of this then too, now that he has reassurance that monsters are real. We're introduced to another character that just works for kind of our story that we get into.
Okay.
And that is a guy by the name of Tommy. We see that his sister, I can't remember her name right now. Sarah, I think. Sasha, it'll come up again here later. Is one of the children that's not the ones that disappeared with James, but she's part of these kids that have been missing from around town.
Okay.
His mom, he works at a local Applebee's knockoff. I think it's called Apple Beans.
Apple Beans.
Yeah. He's a manager there, and His mom.
It's hard to believe that an Applebee's can go out of business, isn't it?
It could. Well, that's brought up, but
I mean, that's what happened in our town.
it did. Well, it calls that in this book. It actually calls that they're all going to go out of business eventually.
Well, do you think? And I'm sorry, this is not about the story.
It's
but
because the one here had to step down in the middle of the entire restaurant.
Is it Chili's here and then Applebee's here?
Yes.
Is that the way it works?
Yes.
Okay. Chili's is way further up.
Chili's is way further up than
Applebee's.
Applebee's.
Applebee's is dollar store. Chili's is Kmart.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's how I feel.
Just trying to understand.
Hot.
Now, I will say I
Applebee's
do
steaks.
like the Applebee's commercial with Dan, whatever his name, the coach of the Lions. Have you seen that one?
Dan Campbell?
Yeah. Have you seen
No.
that? He comes and takes their order, but he's got a clipboard, and so he's reading things like this so you can't see his mouth while he's doing it.
That's funny.
It's just very clever. It was very good. Yeah.
That's
I like it
funny.
a lot. And I hate commercials, but that
I
was
thought you
good.
were going to say, and I hate the Lions.
And I
Did you
hate-
see that? This
I
is
I
random.
hate boneless wings.
This is random, but did you see where he got doxxed? Like they
Dan Campbell?
Yeah, back after the playoff loss, a kid in his daughter's grade, who knew had gone over there for projects.
You
and
said
stuff
grade.
Like grade, like his daughter's.
Okay,
still in
I'm
high
sorry.
school.
I thought you said grave
No,
at first, and I was like,
grade.
oh my God, somebody's in
Like
his daughter's
school.
grave.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
But went to school with his daughter, just straight up on Instagram, then posted his message or his
address?
Yeah, it was like, hey,
my God.
let's go tell this guy what we think. And so they had to move. The Campbells had to move.
Oh my Lord.
Because people their daughter they weren't there. He and his wife were still out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Their kids were at home.
Oh, their kids were just there.
And so cars were just driving down and shining their lights in the house and stuff because people are freaking idiots. Anyway,
wow, that's
you
amazing.
You said Dan
Huh.
Campbell. It made me think of that.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I'm glad you told me that. That's a good
Coke Zero.
thing
Not
to
a sponsor. So, Liquid Death, also not a sponsor, but
Grim Leafer.
could be. It has its own short where Mike was trying to figure out how to
Trying to
drink
figure
with
out
a
how to
mask
drink
on.
it.
My favorite part of that is to go back and watch it, and you sit there and you drink, and you stop and you stare at it, and you're gonna start again, and you stop and stare you're like, I don't believe my
I
eyes.
just have to make sure I know where the hole
Well,
is.
I know, but it's I just don't believe my eyes from literally half a second ago. It's
Yeah,
just
that's if you were to follow me around, you'd see that a lot.
So Tommy, back to our story. We find out that Tommy's sister is one of the ones that's missing. His mom wanted him to put out flyers at the local Applebee's that he's a manager at.
Applebeans.
We do find out something interesting, is that he goes out, thinks he hears a noise, turns and looks.
Oh, it's that thing.
There's the monster there, but
Ooh.
he just goes, is anybody there? And he's just looking out there.
Oh, he doesn't see it because he's too old.
So, you've already put stuff
I
together.
put that together. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, James and Erica go to the Applebee's, and they kind of make their own. They want to get a booth that's going to be Erica's booth. She tells Tommy, I'll pay you $50. I'm just going to leave my stuff here. That's my booth, unless you have a dinner rush that I need to worry about, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she goes, I just need it for a week. And
50-cent boneless wings. That's what the people end
she
up
goes,
ordering
"I'll
from
order-"
Dan Campbell.
She goes, I'll order stuff. I'll tip well. I just need a booth.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, the manager here on Tuesdays is, and she goes, I'll be out by Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
they sit down, her and James sit down, and they start working on the map. And they're trying to figure out where people were disappearing at and stuff. He's like, all right. She goes where are these, where did this person live? Where did this person live?
Yeah.
And she's trying to triangulate something.
Right. She's doing the serial killer map kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waitress comes up to take their order. She goes, I'll take any lager you have that doesn't taste I forget what she's doesn't taste like water or coffee. And he'll take and she goes, James is like, I'll take a lager too. She goes, he'll take a Coke. Or I'll a coffee. And she goes, have you had coffee before? It's just a funny
James is high school, right?
James is high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't know how old Eric is.
Yeah. But at least it gives you something to shoot for.
Yeah. The waitress informs Tommy that, hey, you know that kid sitting there with the weird blonde? That's the kid that was left alive after that most recent group. They think he did it. And shouldn't he be in school right now anyway? What's he doing out with her?
Yeah.
And so
Thanks for keeping up with his education.
Yeah, so Erica asks, this is where I'm going to find his sister's name. Asks
Sally.
Sophie.
So
She goes, now where did Sophie Mahoney live?
Sophie
And
Mahoney?
Sophie Mahoney.
Hardly knew her.
And Tommy, her brother, walks up and essentially is just like there and points right at the map.
Bingo.
Yeah, I know because I'm her brother. And they kind of start talking back and forth. And Tommy's like, aren't you the kid that, you know, or the one who's left? And are y'all, like, what are y'all up to? And, like, Tommy goes to put his hand on Erica. And when he does, Erica kind of flips around and, like, you know, takes his arm and very much, I think, like Muay Thai, or just, like, you know, kind of, like, snaps it behind him. She's like, you don't touch me.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, she just lets him go, and she's like, keep the $50. We're out of here. And he calls the sheriff.
$50?
That's what she gave him to have her booth.
Oh, okay.
And so he
That's
calls.
a lot.
Yeah. He calls the cops then to report her.
Especially at
essentially.
Applebeans. I think
Especially at
that'll buy everything
Applebeans.
on the menu at Applebeans.
So as we get back, I didn't point out earlier when I get here, when she put the map out on the table,
Yeah.
she also threw out a little stuffed octopus. You see
Okay.
it down there?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, the little purple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
So, my thing's freaking out a bit. So she essentially tells him,
Happens
like,
when you get older.
woohoo.
The thing starts to freak
like,
out.
you've done enough right now. I need to go back and think and try to figure out what our next plans are. Like, I need to figure out where we go next from here.
Yeah.
And so she goes back to her hotel room and she sets everything out or the octopus back on the bed. And she just is like, hey, so like everything I've seen, it shows that this is probably like an E7 level, a class E7. There's still kids missing, so it's stashing its food somewhere. Like, we need to figure this out. So I need you thinking on what this means and where do we go? Do you understand that? And the stuffed octopus talks back to her.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to make a guess here. It's almost like the Charlie's Angels speaker, right? The little octopus. Like, she's able to talk back to whatever is kind of controlling this thing. Or whatever's over this operation that sends her from place to place.
Oh, so it's like a speaker in there?
Yeah.
So, not so much.
Okay.
So,
Right. It was a guess.
I get that.
God.
We
Stop
see
doxing
that the
me.
sheriff shows up at the hotel there,
Okay.
and the attendant takes him up to the room, and he's like, I just keep hearing weird shit coming out of that room. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so he walks up to the
Doing it
door.
with that octopus.
You see down there those tentacles there
Yeah.
at the doorway.
Oh, I draw a line at tentacles.
And he's like, ma'am, like, no funny stuff. Can I come in? Like, and he knocks, and she essentially goes to open the door, and there he's like, oh, nothing funny going on in here, officer.
Oh.
And now what seems to be the problem? And so you see, there is this spirit that's inside the octopus.
But he can't see this.
He can't see it, is
right?
what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Well, that one
So-
looks much friendlier than the blood-soaked monster that the other guy couldn't see.
I don't think so. I have a theory, and I don't want to get into it
You
because
think
I'm
this
sure.
one looks worse?
Well, I mean, look at that's teeth around its.
Hang on. I got to bring this laptop over here and take a look at it. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so it's like coming out of almost like a
Venus flytrap.
yeah,
in a
Venus
way.
flytrap kind of thing. Yeah. Huh. Okay.
So,
Oh,
sorry, that takes us to chapter
yeah, what was
3.
that dragon thing that we just saw there?
So they all
Oh,
have
look at that.
a tattoo on their arm.
Yeah.
You'll notice.
Yeah, okay.
What happens is the cop ends up taking Sophia in. Taking Erica in.
Okay.
Sophie was Tommy's sister.
Yeah.
Before we get there, Tommy's essentially deciding that he's going to do something about it. Like, he thinks the two of them have something to do with Sophie's disappearance, too.
Okay.
We don't know what that means. We do see, though, that the cops are holding Erica, and we find out her full name is Erica Slaughter.
We also know we're in Wisconsin.
At Archer's Point, I think, is where this is all taking place.
Well, you said Archer's Point. I didn't realize it was in the...
And he goes, that can't be your real name. And she's like, well, it's on there. And he goes, yeah, this is also made of paper. Like, you just printed it at Kinko's.
We also know we're in Wisconsin.
Because you didn't even take time to laminate it. And she's like, well,
Yeah.
like, she just does not care. She just, while he's doing all this, she's like, who was the first one to disappear? And the cops, Sheriff Joe Kavanaugh.
We
It's
also
just
know
like, hold
we're
on,
in
like, you're the person we're interrogating
Yeah.
here. Like, what do you mean? And she goes, eventually, you're going to get a call from somebody, and they're going to tell you that you should let me go. and that you're hindering
We
me
also
from
know
getting
we're
things
in
done.
this-
Now you can either like help me and tell me
Yeah.
who the first one to disappear was, or no, I know, and that's why, and that's kind of like he's like, okay, sure. And about that time, one of his workers comes in and goes, "We got a call for you." And he looks at Erica and goes, "Is this you?" She goes, "Or no, I'm sorry." He looks at the guy and goes, "Does it involve her?" And he goes, "No, but it's not good." And that's when we find out that there's been another attack of a sleepover of girls. And it's the same situation kind of with James.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 or 5.
They're all
It's
just ripped
brutal.
to shreds
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
And so he basically tells him, like, our sheriff tells Erica, like, don't leave town. Like, I'm letting you go for right now. You weren't there, obviously, to do this. But
Boy,
like,
he has a sheriff mustache, doesn't he?
he does.
That's a big old bushy fucker.
Like, don't leave town. And he does tell her, though, where the first person that was missing. He tells her, like, we thought it was so-and-so. I can't remember the girl's name, but we thought
Right.
it was this girl. We figured her uncle might have picked her up. Like, that's what we thought for sure. But
Sure.
then we could just never find her. So that she was the first one, and told her, like, where, because that's all she wanted to know.
Right.
We find out that James has been waiting outside the police station for Erica to get out to help her, I guess. And the two of them kind of have a little bit of a fight because James keeps wanting to help, and Erica is eventually like, you don't want to. Like, at some point in time, like,
Well, she's trying to protect him, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
she thinks he asked too many questions. He's just trying to help, but she's just trying to protect him, as you
Yeah.
said.
Plus, if she is kind of what I'm thinking she is, she doesn't want a lot of people involved.
What do you think she is?
Well, I think, like, again, like a Buffy type
Yeah,
thing, like
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I mean, you're always worried about pulling people in because they're going to get hurt or this or that or, that kind of thing.
So she eventually tells him, like, all right, if you want to help, then we need to get weapons. Lots and lots of weapons.
Lots of weapons, you say.
Yeah, and we get House Depot.
House Depot. I love it.
I do like this. The guy's like telling her about this, like trying to sell her on chainsaws, and I've really laughed at this part. And he's like, hey, these new ones, like as soon as you drop it, it turns off, so you won't go and like hack into your own leg while you're doing it. Man, I have one of those old models. You sit there, drop it. The thing's not gonna quit cutting through whatever until it runs out of gas. And he goes, and it's gonna cost you like this amount of money. And she goes, okay, how much for the models though that will chew through anything? That won't stop until they've run out of gas.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And like they have a moment where like he looks in the kind of their cart and sees like a pickaxe. Like James comes by with like shears and he's like, these look like they could cause damage, and like tape and gloves. And just kind of like looks down and he's like, they're over here. Like,
Yeesh.
he just like I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
So they are loading up because they're going to go battle these monsters.
You ever used a chainsaw?
Yeah. Have you? It's a little anxiety inducing. Smidge. Yeah. Yeah. Chainsaw log and then run into the stream contest.
You know what
I
I'm
remember
saying?
going like the spinning logs.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they jump on
It
a
was
log
on like
and it
ESPN
spins.
8, the Ocho. Yeah.
Then they have to cut it while they're running on it, and
Well, no, they
all
don't
that
cut the
stuff.
part. It's not like a Looney Tunes where they cut the part they're standing
Oh
on.
no,
and
that's
they fall
exactly
into
what
the
it is.
water.
Yeah.
Real
One
life
of them
Looney Tunes.
realizes they're on it. They sink. I mean,
But he runs fine until he realizes.
Right.
he's
He
there,
realized.
yeah.
Oh,
And then he's just
blump.
like, he stops and he just feels the ground around him and
Right.
realizes nothing.
And then a little
falls.
sign comes up out of the water that just says "help." Yeah.
It just bubbles. Pop, pop, pop.
Whenever they pop, it screams.
Tommy has gone and visited his dad.
Yeah.
But only reason is to pick up a gun that he has there, and it seems like
Holy
Tommy
shit! These people are arming to the teeth, aren't they?
is up to something nefarious.
Something's killing the children.
Yeah, and Tommy thinks that it's Erica and James, and he's
Yeah.
gonna finally get, he's gonna deal with that. The sheriff and his
You know what could have stopped all this?
not having kids.
Boy Scouts. They could have just all joined the Boy Scouts and gone out on a little retreat. It would have been fine.
You're right.
God bless the Boy Scouts.
The sheriff and his older
don't
brother, who is the coroner there in town,
Yeah.
are looking over the new crime scene and talking about just how awful and
Is the coroner one popping bubbles
he is
there with his bubble gum?
Yeah, he's like, dude, can you? He's like, can
Gross.
you not like do that? And he tells him, he's like, hey, you're the one who wanted to be coroner and told me we would have nothing but like saving cats out of trees and stuff in this small town city. I've been dealing with all these kid murders that I've had to be the coroner for.
I don't like that trope where like the coroner is always like, death, screw it. Who cares? I'm going to eat my Chinese food off this guy's chest.
I get this point because he's just like, this isn't what we signed up for. It is.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, I get that. It's just the bubble gum is bothering me.
No, I get that.
Because every time you blow the bubble, you get a little death on it.
So while he's talking to the coroner, the sheriff comes in and tells him, like, there's a phone call for you.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? Like, why? And I tell him I'll call him back. And she goes, no, like, they want to talk to you. They called my personal phone.
Yeah.
They know things about me that nobody should know. And he's like, all right, let me talk to him. And it finds out that that's the call for Erica. But Erica's already gone.
Yeah.
But as you can see there, he has the...
he has the tattoo?
The guy on the phone, not the...
the guy on the phone. Okay.
The guy on the phone also
I'm just
has
looking at panels here.
Yeah, I know. Also has the tattoo. And I love the cop goes, are you the one in charge of Erica? And he just says, nobody's in charge of Erica. So we get back to where James and Erica are heading out into the woods. They're going to do something. And essentially Erica tells him, like, no, I'm going to go fight.
Bad when you said
You're going to... I know. I'm going to go and fight. You're going to stay back and be safe. And James just kind of loses it. Like, no, I can't do that. And she goes, okay, fine. I'll make a deal with you. If it's something that I think it's going to be, and we get there and it's that, under no circumstance am I letting you in there. So if I tell you, you have to go. Until then, though, like, we'll go there and just see what it is.
Right.
So she sets everything down as they get ready to head into the woods. And I forgot to say, the sheriff had sent one of his cops to kind of like monitor them and watch them and see what they're up to.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's who was there kind of watching and being like, what are these guys up to?
You got a bunch of dead kids.
Yeah, and he radios back to the sheriff and goes, hey, sheriff, like, I see them. They're heading to the woods. You want me to go ahead and follow after them? And the sheriff, after getting off the phone with, whoever that was, goes, no, we're good. Let them be. And the guy's like, wait, what? No, I didn't drive all the way out here just to not, do something about it.
Not do anything about it. Yeah, yeah.
So he gets out of the car and he's going to change into like he's wearing, I guess, like cowboy boots or something. He's changing into mud boots so he can like go hiking out through there to follow him.
Sure.
And as he goes to his trunk to get something, Tommy shows up and just with the butt of the pistol smacks him across the back of the head. So they set everything aside. It is what Erica realizes it's going to be. She tells James to stay out here and like don't, where does it say? I'm not.
She really should be a raccoon, though.
Oh, she goes, all right, now go. Like, don't stay here, go. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Like, get out of here. And she gets ready. She puts on her.
Oh, man.
Yeah. She puts on her little bandana with the teeth. Gets her chainsaw out ready to go. Breaks some glow lights. And she's headed into the... Are we already on 5?
It's the cave, yeah.
She's headed into the cave. And she just sees this mangled mess.
Oof.
Of just bodies and stuff there in the cave.
Oh, there it is.
And behind her, she hears Tommy, who's like, where's the... I can't remember what she says. But essentially, Tommy's like, you're not getting out of here. You're responsible for all this. I'm going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, Tommy, I need you to get down now. And that's where he says, not a chance. But she's obviously asking him to get down.
Yeah.
Because she wants to
she
battle
can see
the
thing behind him. Yeah.
Tommy can't.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're now going to get into the final issue here of Volume 1.
Oh.
Chapter 5. It is a lot of battle, and it is awesome. While he's out there, he's starting to have, like, memories. While James is out there waiting, not going in, he's starting to reminisce about, like, everything that happened with he and his friends, because that's the thing, like, they're his friends, like, he misses them.
Sure.
He wants to do something to kind of, like, I don't like feel like he did something to save them in some way.
Yeah.
So while he's out there waiting, though, We get flashbacks between that and Erica fighting this monster. And I love how obviously, since Tommy can't see it, he just sees like the air with like blood dripping out of it after she stabs him and stuff. So he's very thrown off after she stabs the monster.
Sure.
So he's very thrown off by
I
everything
wonder why
that's
she
going
can
on.
see it and he can't, though.
So we're going to get into that a little bit.
It's the eyeballs.
And so he's sitting there. It's not the eyeballs.
Oh.
And she's battling it. And he's just like, what's going on? Like, this is a magic trick. And he's like, no. Or she goes, Erica's like, no, it's not a magic trick. And so the two battle back and forth. And Tommy's still like thinking something's off. And he's going to plan to shoot Erica because like that's what he came here to do. Like she's trying to like mess with his mind somehow, making him see that. And about that time he shoots in the air though still.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like to scare her, and it
Yep.
ricochets. And she tells him, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, I missed it. While James was outside thinking about how he wanted to stick up for his friends, the octopus starts talking to James.
Oh.
And the octopus tells James that Erica left him out there because she knew he couldn't handle this. That the octopus didn't know why she brought along such a weak little child.
Oh, wow.
That was just going to be food for the monster they were hunting. And he's like, I'm not weak. And she's like, that's why she left you out here then. But now you left her in there all alone just to die. And you could have done something to help her, but you can't. So James runs in after that. Well, the bullet that Tommy shoots up, it ricochets off.
Mm-hmm.
And it hits James. And so now James is shot as he was entering the cave to help them out. So what happens is essentially... well, I guess the monster dealing with some wounds that it's dealt with has kind of gone off. They're dealing with James that has been shot now by Tommy. Tommy trying to do whatever he's doing has only made things worse and ended up shooting, ended up shooting James, ended up just adding more to the problems of Erica trying to kill this monster. They find another girl still alive. They see Sophie, who was Tommy's sister. He finds her body there and realizes that she's been dead. And about that time, Erica realizes, well, I need Tommy's help if we're going to like get out of this thing okay. And we are lagging so hardcore on this that it's not letting me switch panels. So I apologize about the freeze. The audio is going to be good. But so what happens then?
Doesn't look bad on this side.
Okay, on mine it's absolute, so I can't see anything.
Hmm.
What they do, so I'm just going to have to base it off what's up there.
No, it looks
good.
good.
There we go. So she essentially takes this thing of, I'm trying to see, Tommy's freaking out because of, there it is, because of him just shooting James. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, Tommy, I need your help. I need you to be able to see this. So she takes out a piece of gold. I can't remember what kind of gold. It says what kind of gold it is, but it has like a sharp point on it. Mm-hmm. And she stabs him in the temple with it.
Jesus.
And that's when he's like, oh, you stabbed me. And he's like complaining about it, and he's not feeling great. And then about that time,
well, yeah,
like,
you get stabbed in the temple.
Yeah. And then, well, I mean, worse could happen. Right?
I'm just saying to make you feel bad.
Well, and then he gets a flashback of all these other people with the bandanas sitting around with stuffed animals in front of them. And then Tommy can see the monster that's in front of them.
Oh.
And so he essentially tells like Tommy, like, hey, you're going to take James here, and you're going to take this girl here we found, and you're going to get out of here while I deal with everything else, and you're going to get help. Because all you can do right now, all you've done is made things worse, but you can save like these people's lives here. And so Tommy does that, and he grabs them, and he takes off running, and he heads outside. And Erica then works on taking care of battling the monster there. I have to look over here while we do it because it's not catching up on mine. So she deals with battling the monster. And a fight breaks out.
Those are really
between the
cool
two of them.
panels.
Oh, it is. I love the art in this. And so it's the two of them fighting, and Tommy is able to go out and find the cop that he hit, in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And he's woken up now, so thankfully. And he's like, hey, like, we need help. Like, this kid's been, he's been shot. She was part of the party. She's alive now. Like, we just can't. And, like, Tommy kind of passes out himself from all the exhaustion and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the cop is taking them in, and he tells them, like, hey, we got 3 coming in, like, prepare, like, the beds. And he goes, something weird is going on out in that woods. And about that time, Erica comes out, and we see her pass by her bag, and the buzz goes off again. And she essentially says, like, all right, I did it, but you didn't tell me everything. Like, that wasn't just a regular monster. That was a mother in there.
Oh.
Like, it was feeding. Like, it was trying to give, like, that was a den you sent me into. We have more problems than that going on. I'm trying to read this, and I can't hear. You know what I can do? I have the book in front of me right here.
There you go.
That would help out.
Now we're talking.
Yep. And she says, I did what I had to do to save 2 lives. I'll deal with the consequences. Talking about having to use the gold, I guess, to make Tommy be able to see.
Sure.
And she just, no, you listen to me. You didn't classify this correctly. That wasn't a food stash. That was a nest. And she's like, no, effing listen. It was a mother, Aaron. Like, it had children. Those children are out there now, and they're hungry. If this town is going to survive, we're going to have to kill them and kill them fast. And that is where Volume 1 ends.
Jeez.
Of Something's Killing the Children. Of
nice
where
cliffhanger there, buddy.
Well, it is. It gets you into to be continued.
Yeah.
I told you that
That's a cool story, though.
there's that's just 5. There's like 32 other issues out there,
Yeah.
so where it dives
Yeah.
into it more. There's a whole, like, they did a one-off called House of Slaughter, which I assume deals with, I think that Erica's like from a family of kind of monster killers in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So the stuffed animal, from my understanding, is there's like monsters that possess those little things. And so I'm assuming that it's monsters, like, I don't know if they're doing good or if they're like getting help from the monsters that possess these things, and if they're still not like trying to, like, they're still monsters at heart, because the octopus obviously sent James kind of into his doom there.
Yeah.
But that's what the spirit was in there that I was able to put together.
Okay. I think that bunny behind your head has a spirit in it. Yeah. See?
So, I don't know. I didn't have anything there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's cool, though. I mean, it's a beautiful comic, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, that is more of a mystery than we normally get out of these kind of things.
That's true.
You know, even Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, you kind of knew what the deal was.
It's true. There's
there
more,
was just one character that revealed themselves after a little while. But this one, it's like you don't know where the freaking monsters are coming from. You don't know any of this stuff.
For sure. I didn't touch on it really. I realized after we went through here, so I'll go ahead and add it now. Mm-hmm. You were dead. You were right about it being where it's kids. Like, it feeds on kids because kids are the ones that can see them
up to a certain age, and then
it's and like James points out, like, I don't believe in monsters, and she goes, "There's a difference between what was it? There's a difference between believing and
being eaten."
Well, it was like adults obviously knew better, but kids, even though if they didn't believe in them, they still had a little bit of skepticism.
That's what I was going to say. I'm assuming that these monsters are feeding off of their naivete or their young eyes, before they get calloused, before they lose interest in all that stuff. So any kid that could still have an imaginary friend, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is volume 1, but of
it's very good.
Something is Killing the Children. I will keep reading this. I really enjoyed it. It's a great read.
And I just want to read the other 400 episodes.
Well, there's only 32 issues.
Oh, 32.
It's not that bad, actually.
That was close.
The library has them all.
$1.
Coming up on Wednesday again, we have the Mother Goose mystery.
Nice.
With Batman and Superman. A quick little story to get into that is absolutely ridiculous and funny. And I think that it'll definitely be up Mike's alley there. So we have that for sure. As always, thank you guys for taking the time out to listen, even to the more serious ones that we do. I promise that we'll have more ridiculous coming up. Make sure to check out the Rogue Media Network family of podcasts.
This is me getting ready to say this. Okay, see? Like, only the people on the video can see this, how serious I am about this now. RogueMediaNetwork.com.
You do get very, like...
Yeah.
Hey, slow jam in the news.
Hey there, ladies.
So don't forget to tune in back on Wednesday as we will cover some Silver Age shenanigans, and you get more of Mike and I. So who can hate on that?
Oh boy!
But until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Golly con, folks.
Frozen. Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.